It was a still Sunday afternoon, the sort where sunlight filters through the curtains just right and the world outside feels like it's on pause. I just finished giving water to the plants lined up on the windowsill, the ones that had somehow endured my spotty care over the years. The house was quiet. Just the steady hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the worn floor beneath my bare feet. I had just nestled into my favorite reading chair, worn at the arms, shaped perfectly from time and use, when I heard a knock. It wasn't loud, just a light, uncertain tap. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I figured it might be someone from the neighborhood. Or maybe a package that needed signing. When I opened the door, there stood James, my neighbor's son. He had on a faded sweatshirt and jeans, shifting his weight nervously with a notebook tucked under his arm. I hadn't seen much of him since he came back from college for the summer. Always courteous, always reserved. The kind of young man who still called me ma'am, even when I insisted otherwise. "Hi, Mrs. Whitmore," he said, peeking up at me with those soft brown eyes. Smiled. "You're 20 now, James. I think it's safe to drop the formalities." That made him grin a little. He nodded, then looked down again. "I, was hoping you might help me with something." I stepped back, waving him in. A faint mix of lavender and old coffee drifted from the kitchen. "Come in, sweetheart. Everything all right?" He hesitated before stepping inside, glancing around like he was entering a place that demanded silence. "Yeah," he said. "Just didn't want to bug my mom. She's on a work call. And I remember you used to teach English, right?" I led him to the kitchen and poured some cold tea into a glass before sitting across from him. He placed the notebook on the table and tapped its cover like it might bite. "I'm in this writing class over the summer. Gotta sign this personal essay, and I've been trying to start it for days. But nothing feels right. Thought maybe you'd have some advice. You've lived through so much." His words surprised me. I hadn't really thought of myself as someone people turn to for guidance. I'd been retired for years. Widowed. Most of my days were spent talking to houseplants or the checkout clerk at the grocery store. But there was something real in his voice. Hesitant but sincere. "All right," I said, leaning in. "Let me hear what you've got so far." He opened his notebook, flipping past messy lines and scribbled out pages. There were pieces about his father leaving, about feeling like he never measured up, about being scared to really say what was inside. I listened closely, and once he started, he kept going. Our talk shifted from the assignment to things I hadn't expected him to tell me. How he'd felt like an outsider since high school. How even among friends, he never quite fit. As he spoke, something shifted in how I saw him. Not the shy teenager I used to wave at from the garden, but a young man peeling back layers, trying to be brave. His voice held steady, but his fingers trembled as he turned another page. Without thinking, I placed my hand gently over his for a second, just a small, quiet touch. Comfort, maybe more. He looked up at me, eyes full of something between gratitude and confusion. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Seen. Not just a friendly neighbor who baked pies and remembered birthdays, but a person. Someone who still mattered. There was a stillness between us then. One of those silences that carries meaning. I slowly pulled my hand back and offered a small smile. "You're not as lost as you think," I told him. "You just haven't said the truth out loud yet." He swallowed and nodded. "But how do I even start?" "Right here," I said. "With this. With honesty." We spent the next hour writing together. I told him stories from my past. Not polished or sweetened, just real. He listened, truly listened. I could see him gaining confidence with every word. It wasn't about the essay anymore. It was about connection. When he left, the light was golden and soft. "Thanks, Karen," he said at the door. "You don't know how much this helped." And somehow, I knew that wouldn't be the last time he came by. The next visit came during a quiet rainfall. I'd lit a cinnamon-scented candle in the living room and was halfway through folding laundry when I heard the knock again. Gentle, familiar. I already knew who it was. Opened the door. There he stood, hood up, rain speckling his sleeves. "Sorry," he said. "I should have called." "You're always welcome," I replied, stepping aside. He slipped off his shoes at the door and looked around, like checking to see if anything had changed. "I brought something," he said, pulling out his folder. "Wanted to show you the final version." The paper was slightly crumpled at the corners. I sat on the couch and began to read. It was beautiful. He'd written about that first afternoon. The way I listened. The way the light came through my kitchen window and made him feel like time had paused. But what struck me most was the vulnerability in his writing. When I looked up, he was watching me. "You have a voice," I said. "A real one. It matters." He let out a breath. I was scared it was too personal. Personal is what people connect to. He smiled and sat beside me, closer this time. The candle flickered, and the sound of rain outside filled the room. "I don't know why," he said, "but I feel like I can talk to you about anything." That touched me deeply. At some point, I rested my hand over his wrist. "You're safe here," I said. He nodded. "I believe that." His gaze stayed on mine a moment too long. There was an awareness there, something unnamed. We didn't cross a line. We didn't need to. We talked more, about his father, about my late husband, about the echo that lives in a quiet house. "You're not like anyone else I know," he said. "You aren't either," I told him. When he finally left, he paused at the door. "Is it strange that we talk like this?" "No," I said. "It's rare." He smiled and asked if he could come again. Just to visit. Even if he didn't need help. "Anytime," I said. The days that followed settled into something quiet and familiar. He would drop by some afternoons, sometimes with a notebook, sometimes just with that calm presence that changed the air in the room. One evening, I was making roast when I heard his knock. "Smells amazing," he said as he stepped in. "Then sit. You're staying for dinner." We ate, talk. About school. About his future. About uncertainty. Later, with tea in hand and the room dim, he said softly, "I feel like I'm pretending to be who everyone wants. I don't even know who that is anymore." "It's all right not to know," I said. "Most of us don't." He looked at me, eyes steady. "You always know what to say. That's just years of practice." He edged closer. Our knees brushed. My heart beat a little faster. Not wild, but aware. "I've never told anyone this," he whispered. "But I don't feel seen, not for who I am." I placed my hand on his. "I see you." He turned his palm and laced his fingers with mine. There was no rush. No hesitation. Just connection. He leaned in gently, forehead touching mine. "You make me feel like I can breathe," he said. Closed my eyes. "I'm glad," I replied. "That's all I ever wanted." He stayed a while longer. We didn't say much after that. We didn't need to. When he left, he didn't say goodbye. Just, "See you soon." A week passed. One afternoon, I was trimming the bushes when I saw him walking toward the gate. "I didn't know if you'd still want to see me," he said. I wiped my hands and smiled. "Of course I do." We sat on the porch, sun slipping lower behind the trees. "I've been thinking," he said, "about us. About that night." I didn't say anything. Just waited. "You don't treat me like I'm just some lost kid. And I care about you. A lot." My breath caught. Not because I was shocked, but because I felt the same. "This connection, it's real," I said gently. "But fragile. And the world might not get it." "I don't care about that," he said. "I just know I feel whole when I'm here." He took my hand. I held his in return. "I care about you too," I said. "But more than anything, I want you to keep becoming who you're meant to be." I think I already am, he said. That evening we sat there quietly, speaking now and then. About stories. About writing. About life's odd, beautiful timing. When he finally stood to go, he turned at the end of the path. I'll come back, he said. Smiled. I know. And I stayed there a while longer, watching the last light fade. Because whatever this was, whatever name it might carry, it mattered. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't scandalous. It was real. It was human. And it was just beginning.